Welcome traders, my name is Adam Harris, I'm a Chief Market Analyst, and I want to have a look at the week commencing Monday the 27th of November. So we're already sort of heading into the last few days of November, and then December's looming. So let's have a quick look at the high level news. So there's plenty, and I would say please be aware that with Kiwi dollar there's likely to be some really big volatility. There always is. Historically there's usually some big, anywhere from 200 to 350 pip kind of moves that happen around this time. That's not at all an endorsement of trading it. It's actually just alerting you to how much volatility there is at the time. And then we've got throughout the rest of the week, we've got Governor Bailey speaking on Wednesday, so not so much on Monday. So Monday could be a sluggish week. Remember, it's also the tail end of the Thanksgiving weekend in the US. Okay, so and then we have towards the back end of next week, we have got PCE data, core PCE data. We've got unemployment claims, a little bit of market sensitivity around that one. ISM manufacturing PMI as well. So this is really where we'll probably see some relatively good moves. Otherwise, my expectation is really just that the market is going to continue to tick over within the existing or current trends that are going on the daily. So whether we're in an uptrend or a retracement or an extension within the existing uptrend, that's kind of my expectation. But let's go and have a look at what the charts are saying. Okay, so just looking at the VIX, first of all, we're really just down at those lows. So looking at it from a monthly perspective, we're down at the lows. There's really not a lot happening here at this time. Okay, and then having a look at the dollar index here. So we're still within this general downtrend at the moment. We came close to tapping 103, which was our expectation last week. Looks as though it currently wants to attempt to touch that again. And within that monthly kind of picture, it's still within this area. So this is really where it was a high degree of certainty. Once we get here, the question is it going to continue from here all the way down towards, ultimately back down towards 100? Is that going to be the case? We'll see. If that is going to be the case, I expect to see a nice continuation of this trend, break below and potentially a pullback and a retest of 103, potentially by the end of, or at least a week from now. So that'll be the case. However, should we at some point, I think, break above this previous high, and especially if we break back up above 104.44, I beg your pardon, these previous highs, then I think we're likely to see a significant change to the upside. So that's really what I'm going to be looking for this week. First out, plan 8, or first expectation is to see a continuation. And second one is to see a reversal at that level if it's going to happen. So looking here at euro dollar for the moment, or at least to me, euro dollar still looks really good. I still expect it to continue to attempt to push up and push on to a 1.1. At some point then I'd like to see if we get a bit of a pullback. We still really haven't reached the top of the range, and so I think that's very much in play. We look at sterling. Sterling will have similar type of support at the moment. So again, it's already slightly ahead, a little bit stronger than that, but I think it's got some good room here to go up to these previous highs here at 2670, 1.2670. So at the very least, and then at some point also looking for a little bit of a pullback. How it reacts at this level will tell me a lot about what it's going to do. If we get a very strong bearish reaction off that, then I think we're likely to have a bit of a weekly retracement. But for now, so basically it's looking so far as though there is a lot more mood for it to kind of continue going and seeing a weaker US dollar, at least initially. Looking at it here, for example, we've had a bit of a consolidation range breakout, which should mean that Aussie dollar has a lot more room to play to the upside. Kiwi dollar, same thing, very similar to Aussie dollar, expecting that to be able to push up a little bit higher. It is sitting at a bit of a level now. However, I think that if it could push through, I was going to say it was a bullish engulfing. It's not, but it should be able to see it continue to push up if we can get through this level of resistance. Dollar yen. Dollar yen is very volatile. If you can look at it here, if you go back to kind of somewhere around about a month ago, it has been swinging wildly. Even on a monthly perspective, weekly, I beg your pardon, you can see there's just this failure to break through this, exhaustion, failure, depletion, then an attempted breakout, getting knocked back in, and then above that. So it really is in a bit of a battle zone. In fact, the smartest thing to do, I believe, would be to frame this as a range for now. So we're going to put that as the top of the range, and we've got the bottom of the range there. And then let's just see what happens with that. From a monthly perspective as well, you can see there's a little bit of another level here, so I'm just going to mark that as well, put that up there, and you can see now roughly kind of what's going on. So yeah, super cautious. I would wait for this to either correct larger, so in other words, have a bigger correction to the downside coming back down to 144, or wait for it to break out to the upside before I would look for any other opportunities there. Then we've got dollar Swissy starting to put the brakes on here, so that really does want to come back up and test 0.8900. That's what it's wanting to do before potentially continuing down. And dollar CAD is attempting to continue to push down at this point, but you can see also very much a bearish sort of formation there within a previous uptrend. And overall, you can see the flow of price is still to the upside. So it's battling here between weekly traders who are wanting to turn it around and have it go up. And you can see the general pressure to the upside, but it's also forming a little bit of a U-turn here. So if you merge these two candles, especially if this month closes as a bearish red candle near the lows, that would constitute a rejection of the highs. And then we could see potential momentum, further momentum to the downside, further downside, and therefore that would potentially also add to that weaker US dollar. All right, let's move on to commodities. Okay, so we're looking at gold. Excuse me, gold's still looking good. It is battling with this resistance level, but it is almost certainly just very enthusiastic about continuing to the upside. And overall, I have to say, looking at it on a monthly perspective, looks a lot more healthy. So this has a good chance of pushing on. Let's see if it succeeds in doing that. Silver as well. Look at that beautiful close. Solid momentum candle, close above all these previous candles. That is a very good indication. So this week, I'd like to see if we have just a retest of 24 and a continuation upwards. For me, silver is very attractive to the upside. I would certainly consider, although I don't often consider looking at silver for entries because generally it's a lot more choppy than gold, I would say this week it would be worthwhile putting on that list. Okay, natural gas still continues to push to the low here and hasn't really done much. I mean, if you go back, this is all the way back to March. So it really hasn't achieved much over this period, but has now decided to continue breaking to the downside. So, okay, that's just looks for now. We'll see how that goes. Looks as though that just wants to continue to just keep testing those lows. It's still in this area that I've highlighted for a potential bottom, and we'll see if that's going to be the case. Then we have a look at crude oils. So crude oils, I was talking about how last week about how this was a very bullish reaction, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a turnaround. So this would then be an inverted head and shoulders if that was the case, which means this would be the right shoulder, or at least the other shoulder. And so this week I want to see if we ultimately come up and break the above the high here and shift back into an uptrend if that's going to be the case. But it is showing lots of bullish signs. There's a whole lot of green candles that came in and pushed back. Here we had a pushback. Here we've had a pushback. So there are buyers that are trying to turn around. We'll see. The only other outcome of this I would expect would have to be a solid fall below that and a close below this, which would be a very bearish move. But this is setting up currently as a bullish reversal formation. But I'd really want to see it break above 78.50 here to kind of continue to buy into that. Brent crude producing an almost identical setup. Okay, let's move on to the MVPs, which is the global indices. Looking very nice and bullish. You can see although we had a very big move a couple of weeks ago, week before last, here you can see we're just continuing to trickle up to the upside. Look at that very strong, nice bullish monthly candle that'll bring us back into resistance at about that 36,000 level. We'll see. So at some point we do need to have a daily retracement. We're very much now entering that overdue territory for it, and you can kind of see where we are in relation to that. But right now I would say the path of least resistance is a little bit higher before having that correction. I still want to have that correction. We are due for it, but right now the markets appear to want to keep going. You can see it's also slowing down here as well. This is on the S&P, slowing down at a particular level here. I think we are very much free to remove this downward sloping trend line. And we can see here that for the most part, I'd love to see this pull back into 4,500 would be great. Any kind of a pullback this week for me, I would look as a potential buying opportunities on that. All right, NASDAQ as well, starting to stall where it is. Again, this could really do, and it's really up at these highs over here, these recent highs. So these highs are going back into July. I'd like to see us have a bit of a correction, but in principle, I'm still happy, nice and bullish on that. Okay, so the Russell 2000, to me, this looks like a very strong contender for a bullish breakout. So that's what I'm going to be looking for this week. If you look here, you've got, just trying to see where my little, there we go. So we'll just, sorry, I can't see that. There we go. So looking for this to be a potential breakout to the upside. Interesting, but yeah, looks good. Quite happy with that. All right, and the FTSE so far, okay, there's a little bit of a range at the moment. You can just see we're stuck in this pocket here, but, and it's battling underneath that 50 period moving average. There should still be a bit of a breakout to the upside. So that's what I'll be looking for this week. Will we get that breakout? The DAX also looking good, continues to just push up, but the candle's a lot more a lot smaller now from the bigger ones. It's starting to get smaller, which just means also that it's usually preparing in its near future for a bit of a retracement, just a retracement. Overall, everything looking very nice and healthy. There's not much else to add to this. We had a very nice, perfect pullback to that 382. I think we can remove this fib level now. We don't need that. And you can just see very nice retracement and has continued upwards. And we've got the ASX. Also here, a little bit of a downtrend on the daily, but you can see the level that it is battling with much more visible here on the weekly at 7,050. Looking to see if we can break up through that as well this week. But that also that monthly looking really good. Again, if you merge these two candles, week down, month up, we should get a bullish rejection of the lows. On the Nikkei, back up at these highs. So yes, with respect, we're going to have to obviously keep an eye on what these lows, I beg your pardon, these highs are over here. Want to keep an eye on that. But I would expect now that it's recovered really well, it should possibly even just continue up this week. We'll see. All right, moving on to the equities of interest, stocks of interest. Let's have a look at that. Clearly broken that downward sloping trend line. We can get rid of that. And Apple looking pretty good. My expectation for now, yes, any kind of a retracement or pullback aside, is that it will continue to head up to the all-time highs or previous highs over the most recent highs. Amazon will be the same thing. Looks really nice and healthy. There's not a lot for me to say at this time. A lot of these, I'm expecting them to just continue to push a little bit higher. And I would see any pullbacks as potential entry opportunities. AT&T, that weekly, you can see it just beautifully continuing to move higher. The MACD continuing to trend higher. All of this looking way more bullish than bearish. So again, we might have retracements, but I would see those retracements as possible buy entry opportunities. Otherwise, expect them to continue to just push higher. And the same going here for ARK. ARK right now has produced a very, very solid bullish candle here. And you can see that MACD starting to move a little bit higher as well. It's not above zero yet, but it certainly means that there's opportunity here for this to keep pushing to the top of that range. ASML, same thing. This will be very similar in my view to most of the others. Just that same opportunity to keep pushing a bit higher. There's nothing here yet. We're not too overextended. Glencore, for example, stuck within this range and very, very choppy. And you can see very choppy. So this, again, I don't think really matters until we break out. But the beauty of a consolidation such as this is that when we do break out, there's a lot of energy and it'll have a lot of room to move, especially if it breaks out to the upside. Tesco, I was talking about how we needed to see either a bearish candle that was the consequence of the result or the culmination of this failed attempt to get out, or alternatively a bullish candle that moved and closed up. And it appears as though we have now got our bullish candle. I'm going to keep it for now, but that looks pretty good. So it does appear so far as though Tesco is managing to break out to the upside. Okay, this is ridiculous. I mean, Amex, very nice and bullish, looking really, really nice and healthy. Also, a lot of these are overextended on the daily. So a pullback this week for me on the daily would be a very nice, welcome, well-received type of behavior. Look at this as well. You can see this type of behavior as it moves up and it gaps up, gaps, and then suddenly all the bodies are tending to overlap a lot. We get a lot of exhaustion in here, getting a couple of sort of hanging man type of structures forming in this. It's kind of a little bit of time that it does need to do a bit of a retracement. And maybe that's what we'll get tomorrow when on Monday when the market's not really doing too much. We've got Coca-Cola, very nice and bullish. I'm very, very happy with that. BP. Okay, so there's a possibility here for this to be a bit of a double bottom. You can see that we then gap back up here. So it's battling heavily with that 36 level, very heavily with that 36 level. But yeah, I think it is potentially creating the basis for a move back up. So this is ultimately, I'd love to see this close with a bit of a green top over here would be a fantastic setup for the move to the upside. Again, it's BP and Exxon and oil. So we'll see how that goes. But oil looks like that might be trying to turn around. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the case. It'll be a similar type of result. We'd ultimately close higher and possibly get a bit of green into our candle on Exxon if that's the case. General Motors, battling near the bottom, but we've got a couple of tweezers here, which again can often act as a bit of a double bottom. So again, we've got that bullish divergence. So this is trying to turn around. It's just how I'm going to leave it. It's trying to turn around and head higher. Same kind of behavior here. So all of them, not all of them, sorry, so many charts have this type of behavior over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 candles. They're all showing overextended to the upside. They need to have a bit of a retracement back down into these previous highs, for example, would be a great place to do that. Adidas, looking nice and bullish. I'm just cognizant of where it is at these all-time highs over here. It's a significant place for it to be stuck, but when you look at the overall room it has to the upside, what I'd love to see here is a solid kick out to the, no pun intended, to the upside. Metsik, excuse me, Meta, that's a really nice solid monthly breakout. Looks good. Candle's getting a little bit smaller, so we might see a possible correction to the downside here. Back down to tap the outside or tap sort of the top of these candles here and then continue up. Morgan Stanley also looks good. I really like the look of this. Very nice, again, a bit of a U-turn there, so that looks good. Could be setting up for a nice continuation to the upside there. Nvidia battling at this level, still stuck in this danger zone level that's been here for a long time. And yeah, maybe we'll still be in the range. Again, as I say, it doesn't count until we escape this range. And so far, we haven't managed to do that. So let's see what happens to that. So Nvidia could well have to consolidate until January and then potentially break out. That could be something that happens. Okay, so why do I say that? Well, potentially it could be waiting for that 50-period moving average to catch up to it and then to be driven out by that. So we'll see, which actually would line up sort of seasonally with the markets if they're going to do that. This looks great. Netflix, again, just overextended to the upside. That's all, but they look fantastic. And PayPal, struggling a bit here with this area, but at least hasn't continued down. So I'm looking here to see if we get a nice bullish candle. So for me, I would know we're starting to turn a corner once we start to break above that 77 range over there at the bottom. We're not there yet. Spotify continues to look good. You can see the failure in the past, whereas here we're managing to push through. So that all looks really nice. Again, most of these are just telling me that they are just needing a bit of a pullback, a bit of a retracement on the daily. Spider here, also a very nice double bottom. That's a very nice, beautiful, should be potentially a very nice bullish setup to continue up from here. So I quite like this because, you know, for me, that could be a possible buy bottom of this particular instrument. I quite like that. Okay. FedEx also looks good. That's a very nice pullback, breakout, pullback, bullish inside candle. Could be a nice setup continuing going forwards into 2024. Tesla so far is still maintaining its bullishness, battling a little bit in this area here, but nothing unique to Tesla, guys. Nothing that is, I would say, is unique to Tesla. We've got Vanguard, S&P, of course, doing very well. Very strong recovery there. And let's finish off with Walt Disney, also looking very good. So for me, Walt Disney is certainly on my... I was talking a lot in the past about how we were... I think I mentioned this last week as well. This to me almost is now a buy because... a potential buy for myself. It's not financial advice. It's just that, honestly, I didn't think that level was going to hold. It appears to be holding, and it doesn't just look as though it's holding. It looks as though it's actually starting to reverse and starting to show more and more bullishness. So this might be one of those rare opportunities, potentially, possibly, for me, for my portfolio, where this is a beautiful discount, buying a historically blue chip. Remember, Disney's celebrating its 100th anniversary here. That's phenomenal, and possibly this is going to be one of those rare times where a blue chip stock is available at such a big discount. Just a thought, not, you know, it's not really my role here. It was really just, those are the kind of thoughts that are going through my mind. So that's probably, I'll keep it on the list for that note, for that reason. Okay. Bonds still not getting too much love, but certainly here that's an inverse head and shoulders. So we'll see if that's going to be the case, and you can see a bit of a retracement here. So for now, again, I still think there's a bit more room for this to continue up, but within the downtrend. So not enough. It's too soon for me to kind of say, okay, that downtrend is changing. EURUSD as well is trying. Of the two, this one is looking more bullish, but I'm just not going to say it until I see a substantial change. Because for the last few years, I've been talking about this, and there's just every time it gets to a point where it looks like it might be changing, it just carries on down. So I'd want to see more evidence this time. Okay, Bitcoin as usual, still battling with this area. You can see it's actually stuck in a bit of a range now. So again, I'm always, you know me, bring out the range box and just kind of put it in there. But that does really appear to be where we are stuck right now. It just can't quite work its way into a bit of a correction, but it could do with that. So again, maybe we'll get a surge. See, this is interesting. So when it comes to excluding the global indices and stuff, it does appear as though there's a possibility we get a stronger dollar this week, or at least a correction within the markets, even if we get that weaker US dollar. So there is a bit of a contradiction there. Ethereum also stuck within that range, also battling at that level. So all of these really would benefit from a healthy correction to the downside just for a week or so, or a few days, or just a nice decent correction before resuming their trends to the upside. They've had a really good couple of weeks, but they're running a bit out of steam. We'll see. The only other way that can kind of pan out is they keep going sideways for another week or two, and then they break out to the upside. And maybe that'll be the case. Maybe they're just not going to do much. But I'd be surprised. I really think they would benefit more from just taking a bit of a correction before moving out to the upside. And that's it from me. So it's a slightly shorter video this week, but I like it for the most part. The market, again, should continue to provide opportunities. We're heading into Christmas. It's going to start to get really twitchy between that, and certainly I think up until about the 15th of December there could be some good opportunities. After that, it's really worthwhile to just step away from the charts, read any books you want, or back test or test your strategies, but don't actively look for trading opportunities. The markets just don't offer a lot of magic until about the 5th to the 8th of January, and it's just really worth that time to not have to feel the pressures of FOMO, that there's stuff you should be doing. It's more about self-reflection, skills development, all kinds of other stuff, but not actually looking for real opportunities in the markets per se. Not to say that there won't be some moves somewhere, but it's not the same. 90% of the activity goes away. So, and then looking for the remaining 10% is just not worth your while spending your holidays doing that. All right, spend it with your loved ones. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a great week, and we will speak to you next week. Thank you.